All right, we are back, episode 103, and we have a special guest, Brandon Lovelady, the director of instruction at Newnan Country Club, 2012 winner of the Georgia PGA Assistants Championship, and baller when it comes to golf.
Former baller, old man now. How you boys doing?
Good, living
Good.
the dream.
Well, I'm happy to show you guys the background because I know last time you had my cohort on, Mr. Scott Porter Golf. Y'all gave him a hard time about shooting from his. Yeah, well, it was also you were shooting from your house because we didn't have internet yet. So we're now in the 20th century, working toward the 21st.
What are some of the highlighted equipment that y'all have going on in there?
So right now, I've been a flight scope guy for, 15 years. Flight scope certified for about 10. And I've been using flight scope for a long time. So that's my primary radar system. As far as video analysis stuff, Scott tends to use a lot of different stuff, phones and stuff, but I've been using V1 it's kind of been the industry standard to some extent for about, 30 plus years. I mean, I remember when I was a junior having coaches, film me and show me on V1 what I was doing. So it's kind of antiquated, but it's not bad. But I've been using V1 for video analysis. I use KVest. It's the kind of the old school 3D motion capture stuff, the precursor to a lot of the stuff like now, like Sportsbox and the AI-based stuff, but it's physical devices that you wear on your body to help you identify positions. As far as beyond that, I use some tools and some stuff. I jokingly say I'm not that old. I mean, I just turned 43, but I'm a little bit old school in the sense of what we do in terms of technology stuff. So, but yeah, those are the big things I use a lot of. Obviously, big on video analysis. I'm a radar junkie. Like I said, I don't rely on it. Got opinions. I'm a golf pro. I got opinions on everything, but those are the big things we use. I've used force plates or pressure mats in the past, and transitioning from my old job to here, I spent 10 years over at Canongate One prior to transitioning over to Newnan Country Club and starting what we now call 1919 Academy. So I'm eventually going to bring that back in. I'm a big believer in the use of how your feet function on a golf swing. So technology wise, we're still in development with all that stuff anyway. As you guys may be aware, as you guys are aware, because y'all have been out here a few times, we only opened this space in November of last year. So everything's relatively new, and I'm kind of slow to grow. I don't want to add stuff in that we don't need. Just get what we got, do what we have, and then let it grow a little more organically. So a few things in here, but not a ton of stuff. And big things for us, like launch monitor is, I don't say you don't have to have it to teach these days, but when you're trying to justify a change or a piece of equipment to somebody, it's good to have that verifiable data and use those tools.
I think my favorite thing I've added recently is all the data at your feet after the swing.
Yeah.
I know the first couple lessons, Scott's like, look at this, and he's showing me the path and the numbers. He's like, you need to be here instead of here. And now it's all right at your feet immediately after the swing. And I'm like, I could come up there and just practice for hours just to see what my numbers are.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is that Scott's wife would kill you because she wants him home, especially with their current pregnancy situation being so close. But yeah, I mean, obviously you talk to Scott a lot, but in some ways I did have a vision for what I wanted to do. And, my background, I've been in this area for 17-ish years now. I started as an assistant pro at Flat Creek back in 2007 over in Peachtree City. Did that for about 5 years, and I didn't get in the golf business to be, a shop pro, a head pro, any of that. I only got into it for the two things I primarily do now, which is coaching and club fitting. I've been a club junkie since 92, 93. So I've always been interested in that. And so when we put this place together, I'd been at Canongate for not quite 10 years, about 9 years. And I did have an indoor space. So I don't know if you boys have been over there, but they do have an indoor teaching space, but it's relatively small and kind of limited. But one of the things I put in over there was exactly kind of like what you see in here now. I had a monitor up on the wall so that when you hit a shot, you had a monitor pretty much right in front of you. It could display launch monitor data. It could display KVS data, video. I mean, I joked as a halftime, during Masters Week, it only shows Masters coverage. The running joke in here every year now is during Masters Week, we don't do video, we don't do analysis. Every TV is on a different stream, and we're going to talk about the Masters and work on your golf game. There will be nothing else. But so those TVs that I put on the ground, that was something that was in my vision from day one. And so we got some, relatively cheap TVs, and we've got an absolute legend that works for us here in the Cart Barn, who has worked for both myself and Scott at various clubs over the years by the name of Jim Deal. And retired guy, retired early, and has nothing better to do a lot of times than his downtime than build stuff. And when we came over here at work, we'll give him, hey, this is our idea. And I said, hey, the initial plan was have the TV and then have a way to dispense range balls. And he kind of came up with what you see and then built two of those for us. And then now, like you said, you can hit a shot and the information's, you don't have to look anywhere. It's right there at your feet. And it's one of those things. I've been using that for a long time. And Scott was kind of, when I brought the one in here at first, he was like, oh, that's so cool. And immediately I was like, well, here's the TV. Go get Jim to build this. And so it's now become one of the things obviously you see on both of the bays over here. But it's a cool little addition, man. And nowadays, especially with the ability to run all this stuff wirelessly, because I run everything through HDMI transmitters from TV to TV, so there's not wires everywhere, and which is something I had an issue with at Canongate. It's really it's nice to have that stuff right there at your fingertips.
Who originally had the idea for the facility? Because I know for 90% of clubs, it's you just meet someone at the range, you bang balls, and then you talk about it, and then it's over. So a facility is a game changer.
It is. The story of how I ended up here and being in this position and having the opportunity to actually build something. I didn't build anything, by the way. I literally, the closest thing we did to build was Scott and I laid down the rubber floors and moved stuff in here. But having the opportunity to actually build ground up a instructional facility. So was it March of 2020? I was still over at Canongate, and obviously they're Club Corp invited, and they changed some of the protocols for how they were going to handle instruction. It was just, and realistically, I was burnt out. Like I'd been doing it there for a long time, and I just wasn't too keen on what was going on. And prior to all of that coming down the line, the club here had hired the general manager, Charlie Moeller. Charlie Moeller's a well-known guy in the Georgia PGA, and been working he worked for Club Corp, Sequoia Golf, and the Rockmore family, which is the kind of lineage of all the Canongate clubs for 35 plus years. And he had a member here, a gentleman by the name of Jack Counts, who is, very involved in the club. And he asked Charlie, hey, I want to get fit for golf clubs. Who do I go see? And, Charlie and I, like I said, we go back a long way. And she's like, go see Brandon at Canongate. And, this is before I knew that my world was going to change. And he, like I, am a talker. I mean, we have no problem chatting for hours on end about absolutely anything and everything. And we did a fitting. He had a good time. He enjoyed it. And then he sat there and chatted with me for another hour afterwards, talking about kind of the revival. I don't want to say the revival because that's disrespectful to those that were here before, but like talked about the changes that were going to happen in Newnan Country Club. And part of their vision was to have facilities for instruction. Now, this club didn't do a lot of that. They didn't sell a lot of golf clubs. They never had a lot of golf instruction. But Jack was like, hey, this is something we want to do. And then when some certain things changed for me, the first person I called when I was like, hey, this is going down here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Charlie said to me, he's like, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'm game. What do you want to do? And so we had conversations back and forth, and Scott had already come over here. And obviously I've known Scott for 6-7 years. I'd been helping out with his golf swing, stuff like that. And so I talked to Charlie and talked to Scott, and Scott had already developed a lot of business here for instruction. And, I talked to him. I'm like, hey, dude, what do you think? And he's, kudos to him because, for someone just getting into the instructional side of the world and getting busy doing it, you're going to be relatively protective of your quote unquote territory. And he's like, no, man, this absolutely. I absolutely want to jump on board with this. So between the two of them, we kind of started going down the path of, what would that be? And, I put a proposal in front of them and the board, and they said, absolutely, we're good with that. And, to Charlie and the board and our head pro Dano and Scott's credit, like my first day walking on property, we sat down outside and goes, first thing Charlie says, let's go look where we're going to put this building. And I was just like, first thing? Awesome. Now, y'all know anything in construction, 6 months is a year is 2, and it took a little while. And I went back to working outside and sweating and getting sunburned every day and doing all that stuff. But in the end, the membership here has been awesome. They've been supportive. There's always going to be pushback when you start something like this, but I think they're seeing the benefits of it and the value of it. And again, like I said, I got to sit down. I grabbed a piece of graph paper and I said, all right, let's draw this thing out. Let's figure out what it's going to be. And it was funny. I had members, oh, what are you going to call it? Well, Brandon Lovelady Golf Academy. And I'm like, no. Like, nah, I don't, that's not who I am. And I said, listen, this thing is going to be the clubs. And the group of guys that are kind of responsible for a lot of the improvements here, they call them their 1919 Society. And the anniversary date of the club is 1919. And I was like, it's got to be 1919 Academy. And that's kind of where it kicked off. And man, it's been awesome. I kind of run my own world in the sense of how I do things. I don't, as long as we're being productive and staying on top of things, no one's looking over my shoulder, telling me how to do stuff, telling me what to do, who to see. The business side of it's growing. And for me, it really, I teach all skill levels. It doesn't really matter to me, but my focus has always been on competitive because I come from the competitive world. So competitive golfers, junior golfers, professional golfers, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some pretty good players. One or two of which have been featured in some contests you guys have run. Obviously someone you're, even before I came here, helping Maddox in high school. Obviously worked with Scott. AJ is another one of my students that you guys have featured on the channel before. So, it's been interesting to kind of be on the ground floor or something, and it's exciting, man. I'm blessed in that sense. You're familiar with Thrive is what we use to schedule lessons and all that stuff, and when I was leaving Canongate, I sent out an email, saying I'm leaving. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen here, and I was 50-50 going back to Michigan. My best friend owns some bars up there, and he just bought another one, and I've got experience in the business, and I'm like, I might go up there and work for him and get out of the golf world. But I never really wanted to. You know, I wanted to keep doing what I'm doing, and especially with some of the kids that I teach, I'm close with, and you know, I'm glad I did, because I just this week got to witness something that a group of young men that I've been working with for a long time and been fighting for. They got to win a state championship on Tuesday, and I got to be there for it. And man, it was, oof, that's a moment I'm not going to forget for the rest of my life. And it's all because of this opportunity that was presented to me with Newnan Country Club.
I was just thinking that like the fact that there's a facility there that you can you can watch junior golfers grow like throughout their entire career. There's a place that they can come and get instruction from for 10, 20 plus years, however long they're in golf.
Yeah, and for me it's more than that. I mean, the instruction is the instruction, but you know, I'm going to repeat something the golf coach over at Newnan mentioned the other night, and it's really about relationships, man. I mean, you know, I've got students that I've taught off and on for, I mean, this is the craziest thing is I had a young man come in about 2 weeks ago. He was the first junior I ever started coaching when I got to Flat Creek. Young man by the name of Nathan Hahn. He is he's a good player, but, you know, he's 28 years old, married, has a kid, went to Mercer, got a degree in engineering, wanted to be a golf club designer, infatuated with the game. He works in aerospace now. But, you know, he goes out of his way. Like, he was still playing golf clubs I gave him in 2012. And he's like, hey, I need to get fit. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Get fit. He's like, no, I'm going to come all the way up from Savannah to see you. You know, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And that's what I mean is like this business is, yeah, I mean, it's golf instruction. It's helping people get better. But in the end, it's really about lifelong relationships, mentoring, helping people not make the same mistakes I made. And there are a lot of them. And it's just cool, man. Like, you know, having the space and being able to see those kids grow. And, you know, like I said, this group of kids that just finished at Northgate, you know, Northgate High School. I've been close with them for a long time. You know, most of them I've taught since they were 10, 11, 12 years old. And, they're surrogate kids to me. And that's a big deal to me. Like, that was the primary reason I never wanted to leave and stop teaching, is because, man, that stuff's cool. And guys like Maddox, Maddox didn't need my help. Maddox is a good player, always was. When I showed up at Canongate, he was a junior, I believe, in high school, and I helped him out with some things. But it's cool. I see what happened to him, and I keep joking that all the kids that I teach end up becoming coaches. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Another young lady I've coached in the past is a lady named Ivy Shepard. She played 4 years at Clemson, 1 year at Kentucky. She's played in the ANWA. She is now coaching as well at James Madison University. She's just an athletic stud. Won 3 high school basketball championships, I think, and 4 in golf. And it's just like, but I still help her out with golf if she needs it. She's seen other coaches, but I mean, she texted me 2 hours ago. And so for me, it's always about that. Like, that's really what it's about. It's just kids are awesome.
Always a lot of sports, and people are like, the game's romantic. But when you start really putting time and emotion in it, it's like, this is so much more than just hitting balls. You can, especially from someone in your role, you can impact lives.
Yeah.
As much time as I've spent with Scott now, he's my guy. When I have a question, he's who I'm going to, whether it's now or a couple years from now. I'll be like, what did he tell me to do this? And I mean, we've only known each other for a couple years now. So it's so much bigger than just hitting balls, especially when you're always with growing players.
It's funny, like you say, the game's romantic, right? And part of romance is torment. and I mean, if this game has been really damn good to me, it's also kind of wrecked me at a point. I didn't play golf for 3 years at one point in my life. Some of the stuff, I was joking before we got on, right? I'm a hard research. I'm not active on socials much anymore. I'm just, I don't know if I guess technically I'm a millennial, but I don't love that title because I feel more like a Gen Xer. I just kind of like, I get it. I totally get it. Totally understand all of it. It's toxic in a lot of ways. And so I just avoid it. Like, there's a couple years back, I was getting messages on various, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm just going to go away from it. I just don't need it. And it's interesting because the game has done that to me a few times. Like, so, going back to what I was saying, like, I was what y'all now know as IMG. I was a student at IMG back in the 90s. I was back when it was David Ledbetter Golf Academy, and I great experience, learned a ton. But I always joke, I say it taught me how not to teach. And I don't mean that as derogatory to David Ledbetter or any of the guys there, because there were legendary coaches there when I was there. Guys like Andrew Rice, Jonathan Yarwood, guys that have coached major champions and are very prominent in the golf industry, and they're really damn smart. But system stuff bugs me now. Like, everybody does it this way doesn't make sense to me. And when I got off to college, as you mentioned, I went to UNA for a very short period of time. My game was a mess. I did not want to go to class. And I'm a terrible student, by the way. Like, do not put me in a classroom. I'm a mess. But I left school, and I didn't touch a golf club from honestly, like maybe January of 2000 until some buddies of mine up in Michigan convinced me to play in a scramble in 2003. And the story behind it's funny because they're like, they didn't even know. And for someone who has a mouth and loves to talk, I never even mentioned that I played college golf. And I show up to this tournament, and I've got a collegiate golf bag from North Alabama. It's got my name on it. As you're aware, the colors are purple and gold, so they're giving me a hard time about my purple golf bag. And about 5 swings later, they're like, "Wait, you know how to play golf? Like, you're good." I was like, "No, boys, I suck. Like, I'm struggling to get it in the air." And the crazy thing is, we won that golf tournament, and the 18th hole came down to a playoff, ironically against the owner of the club that we all worked at. And short par 5, hit driver 7-iron, made a putt for eagle and win. I was like, "Ooh, I forgot what that feels like. That's kind of fun."
I'm back.
And yeah, I mean, I started playing amateur stuff again, and I did that for a few more years. And heartbreak led me to leave Michigan, and I moved to Cincinnati, and I was started as a store manager, and then I was a regional manager for Domino's. And about a year and a half of that, I was like, "This is terrible. Like, this is a nightmare job." And went off to one of those Golf Academy of America schools in Myrtle Beach, and find yourself here, and it's kind of cool. Like, I fell in love with the game kind of a second time, but in a totally different way. And it really became clear to me. I'm like, golf truly is, if you're deep in it, it's a lifestyle. It's a way you live. It's even though I don't play a ton, I still think about it all the time. Not quite as hard as I used to. And honestly, like, the days of me, just devouring information, they're not quite what they were, but because now it's more about, not helping me get better. It's helping young people get better, helping adults get better, introducing people to this game. And, but at the same time, not lying to them about it. But like, hey, this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do. It's, and y'all probably know, like, it was absolutely the most frustrating and rewarding simultaneously thing a human being can do in terms of an athletic endeavor. And to be really good at it, you have to be a 5-tool player like you would be in baseball, right? You can't have a lot of success in golf and be Barry Bonds. Maybe early Barry Bonds. Pirates era Barry Bonds. Yeah, that Barry Bonds is the
skinny Barry
really
Bonds.
Good. Yeah, skinny Bonds. Size 7.5 hat, not 8 3/4. So that's that life. And it's like, sometimes I joke with my wife and she's like, are you gonna be home? I'm like, remember, you've only known me as a golf pro. You know what I do, you know where I am. And she's great about it, by the way. Like, she understands 100% what I do and how much time it takes and the travel associated with what I do and how I like to do things. And, this week you guys are catching me in a chaos week. So, actually a chaos 2 weeks. So but I'll do anything for it, and there's absolutely no doubt about that.
What's your, I know you had mentioned you're trying to play some competitive events now.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, teaching makes it hard sometimes to want to be competitive, and play a lot. And I've been saying for like 3 years, I'm like, I'm going to play more. I'm going to compete again. And finally, it was just a situation. I was like, put my wallet where my mouth is a little bit. And so, and the U.S. Open local qualifier was at White Oak, and I live right next to White Oak. And I'm like, it's in your backyard. Why wouldn't you play? And I've played 10 or 12 of them over the years. Had moderate success in a few of them. Never made it to sectionals, but I've played okay. And the other thing was, I had 3 or 4 of my kids that I teach playing in the field. And the joke was, 3 of them asked me to caddy. And I said, how do I tell 3 kids no or 2 kids no and 1 kid yes? I said, easy. Tell 3 kids no because you're playing. And so I said, I'll sign up. And I signed up and I got waitlisted. And I signed up late. And I was like, no chance I'm in, whatever. But I can still ride that out. Like 7 days later, like, you're in the field. I'm like, oh, man. Oh. So what you don't know is I need a complete left hip replacement. So my left hip is a mess. And it's hard for me. I'm not Tiger level, don't worry. Plus, I don't have that level of money or trainers. But it takes a lot of ibuprofen for me to play, and it's hard for me to work and really hit balls and practice. I haven't practiced with any kind of regularity in a number of years because of the pain and the lack of mobility in my left leg. But I was feeling pretty good. I've been hitting the ball better and starting to get a little bit of speed back and could, be closer to what I used to be like. And I said, why not play? And the first thing that happened is I got paired with a young man that I teach, Jackson Kavanaugh, who's, again, a Northgate kid, but who is going to be at Columbus State next year playing golf. And I was like, what are the odds I get paired with a kid I've been teaching for 6 years? How cool is that? And then we show up to the day, and our third player didn't even show up. So it was just the 2 of us. And I played a practice round with him and hit great. And I was like, oh, all right. I'm hitting. And I don't know if you've seen Jackson up here at all, but like, Jackson hits it, like, cruises driver at 120, 121. Not a big kid, but smashes it. And during the practice round, I was right there next to him. I'm like, hey, I'm keeping up with an 18-year-old kid. This is pretty good. And then the next morning I got up and I get to the range and I am just destroying the toe of my golf clubs. And I'm like, oh yeah, left leg's not working today. So I obviously played okay, but I made, I had one big mistake and one bad break, and that's golf. But I only had 2 goals. I wanted to know 2 things. I said, first goal was, do I care? When I stand in the first tee and I've, been announced by a starter and I've got a scorecard in my back pocket and I'm having to identify my golf ball to somebody else, do I care? And, for me, it's always been, when I set up, if I make that first waggle and the club feels light, yeah, okay, it's game on. Let's go. And I almost had forgotten that. And I stood on the first tee and waggled the club, and I'm hitting a 3-iron off number 1 tee, and it felt like the club had disappeared just in the waggle. And I go, oh, hey, boys, this is real again. And felt it. And so it was cool to feel that. And the second question I had was, can you do it? Can you physically walk 18 holes or even ride and compete 18 holes a single day, multiple days, whatever it may be? And that answer is no. Like, because, Scott caddied for me. So we're walking, I believe, down our 14th fairway. And I was just like, buddy, I'm gassed. I'm like, my leg is just barking. And and I've dealt with it now for about 4 years, and I'm lazy about it. I need to go get it fixed, but I know how to get around and manage it. And I finished the round and everything went okay. But yeah, it's motivating. And once I kind of get through my summer schedule with, caddying, tournaments, a lot of different things that are coming up in the near future, then I'm going to start going down the road of trying to get fully healthy again and in better shape and play and practice more and see how it pans itself out. And by no means am I going to sit here and say, I'm going to wait for the senior tour because that's the hardest tour on planet Earth to play on. I'm not that foolish. I just want to compete, and I've always been, and I bark at Scott about it all the time. Like, I'm a believer that if you want to coach competitive golfers, you don't have to be competing now, but you better know what it is. If you want to tell someone how to handle pressure, how to deal with tournament conditions and how to deal with that stuff at some level. I'm not saying PGA Tour, I'm not saying Korn Ferry, European Tour, whatever, but at some level, you better have familiarity with what it takes to compete, contend, and even win sometimes. And for me, that's what I needed to find out, if that passion was still there for one, and if the game was still decent. And I'll be honest, I shot 82. I mean, that's not good, but it's also not 90. And, I know I could have played better, but it is what it is. I'm not the player I was 7 or 10 years ago.
I always think it's funny, like going and getting like a lesson from Maddox or something like that, or Scott, and asking them like how their game is and stuff like that. Like, when's the last time he played? And Maddox always tells me, it's like, dude, I hadn't played in like 9 months. And I'm like, how do you not play in 9 months?
And by the way, I know how he's full of it. That's nonsense. He's on the range daily. No, I'm kidding. I don't actually know, but and Maddox, I know where he's coming from, because like in that era of my life, in those mid 20 years, pushing toward 30, I could start it and stop it pretty quick. Like, I could not play for 3 or 4 months and hit balls for 2-3 days. And yeah, I'm probably not going to go contend for 4 days at a tournament, but I can put one on you in a single day.
Yeah.
And it gets harder. I mean, this didn't come from nowhere. Like that's double bogeys, that's triple bogeys, right? Yeah. So that does wear on you. And as your body ages, if you don't take care of it, and again, you that happens, right? It's life gets in the way, and you start to not be quite as good. But I mean, don't listen. Yeah, Maddox can still shoot a number on you any given day of the week. I know that for a fact. But
the first,
we've seen him do it.
Oh, yeah, I have too. I have too. I mean, like.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The first time, like, when we sat down with him on our podcast to talk about the 4-man scramble versus him, and like he was telling us, I mean, we had like looked at some of his accolades like through college and stuff, and I was like, okay, and then like he got to telling us, he's like, no, like I can flip this switch and like really put it on y'all, and I was like, oh, this might be more difficult than we think it is. You could just tell by the way he was talking.
It's funny. A guy that all these boys know that I've coached for, goodness, what is it, 10 years now? There's a guy named Wade Binfield. Wade Binfield played the Korn Ferry Tour off and on for the last half a decade plus. Canadian Tour player. He's got a PGA Tour start. I've been his coach for about 10 years. But really, honestly, he's one of my best friends. Like, when he got out of college, like, I was kind of at my peak playing as a club pro, and he would live in Peachtree City area. We'd play golf and beat the crap out of each other all the time. And, very, very, very good friends. Like, I'm going to the Coke 600 with him on Sunday, and then we're going over to Kannapolis to prep for a mini tour event prior to US Open sectional qualifying. But he's been off tour this year. Like, he had some good success last year on KF, but didn't keep his card. And in the off season, he lives in Kansas City now, and he's not playing a ton of golf. And in the last couple of weeks, like, same thing. Like, he was like, I'm gonna get a little work in, get back to practice a little bit. I'm going to go play a mini tour event and see where I'm at. On the APT tour in Arkansas. Well, he won it. And it's like same thing. Like he hadn't really heavily competed in a number of months, and just switch turned on. And it's like, no, this is Gamer Wade. This is the dude that will make everything he looks at from 30 feet and in and just absolutely wear you out. And it's a lot of us, I don't know if I still have that anymore. We're going to find out though, but it's different. Like Maddox is very much that way too. Like, he gets that look in his face and he stops smiling. He starts kicking your butt and you go, oh, I stepped on the wrong ant bed. I definitely stepped on the wrong ant bed. And he still got gas pedal. I mean, we were talking about it today here at Newnan. Y'all played this place. It's not a pushover. This is the hardest first 6 holes of any golf course I've ever really been around on the regular. And I will rank it amongst any first 6 holes, especially considering how short they are. And they're not quirky. Y'all played them. They're not quirky. They're not weird. They just stand on your throat. And we've had multiple, Kirby. We've had since he won, we've had a Kirby. We've hosted 2 or 3 GSGA qualifiers. The last guy to break par here in a single or multi-day tournament is Maddox. And he shot 66 in round 2 of I believe it was 66 in round 2 of the Kirby in 2022. And he's like, oh, I haven't played much. Yeah. And then you go and you shot 31 on the front, and that's the harder 9. And I was like, oh yeah, you haven't played much, but no, he can turn it on.
When we finished, I think maybe like the front 9, we were playing match play, and
he was like,
yeah, and I think he was 1 up on us maybe, and we were like, okay, we're hanging in there, like we stand a chance. Like I remember like either Casey or somebody said that to him like on the 10th tee. He was like, we're hanging in there. And then it was like, birdie. And it was like, okay, it's slipping away from us real quick.
Well, it's like the saying in poker, right? If you don't know who the sucker is at the table is, it's you.
It's probably you.
Yeah. And he probably stood on the 10th tee, goes, they don't have a clue. And you're also, he's there every day, right? And a good example, like that home course advantage is real, especially for a good player. Like I was telling you earlier, I just got back from the Georgia State 5A state championship. Played it down at Okefenokee Country Club in Waycross, Georgia, and it's Ware County. So, the boys I teach at Northgate, there's 4 or 5 studs in that team. I got 2 of them going to Columbus State next year on scholarships. One's coming over to Point. And then the junior is getting looked at by schools like Kennesaw State and stuff like that, but also like Arizona and Kansas. And, as we were talking about it during the days leading up to it, like we weren't there for an individual trophy. They were there for the big trophy, the team trophy. Well, Will Kaufman, who's playing the number 1 seed, he gets paired with a young man named Trace Carter, who is a very good player, defending state champion individually in 5A. Day 1, he goes out. It's at his home golf course. He shoots 64.
Gosh.
Day 2, he comes out. You're thinking, oh, yeah, he won't shoot 64 again. No, he just shoots 66. Landon Noble, who's playing 2 position on that team, Landon, who's the number 2, shoots 4 under for 2 days, gets beat by 10, right? And that home course advantage for, say, someone like Maddox, he's there every day. You don't want to play him at Point. You definitely don't want to play him at Canongate. White Oak, you have a better shot, but he can still get around White Oak pretty darn good. Those are, that's his backyard. He's gonna put it on you.
Is like players like Maddox that have came through like your teaching, do you see like a really good future in them and like have I guess tabs on them throughout their career?
I mean, like Maddox, obviously we stay in touch. I mean, we don't talk a ton, but like it's one of those things like when I see you, it's good to see you, brother. I haven't seen you, how things. It's just like, I've lived all over the country. So I've got a few friends in various places that we may not talk for a year. But the second we're in a conversation, it's like we've never stopped talking to each other. Maddox is like that. And so I'm aware of what he's doing. Obviously I see the Point Boys over here all the time. Sending one to him, Scott and I are sending one to him this year. I keep tabs on, it goes back to the thing, like it's a relationship thing, right? Like the people that I've been close with in teaching as students, I'm always there for them. I don't care if they go see 50 other coaches and get advice from 100 different people or, whatever. I'm always going to be there for them because it's not about how much revenue I generate as a coach. I really don't care. It means nothing to me. It's about how are they doing? Is their game good? Is their life good? Is their family good? All that kind of stuff. And I keep track of, I keep in touch with the vast majority of them. I mean, I was kind of joking. I'm like going through the list of guys and girls that I've worked with. Some don't see much anymore. Some I still see, but I'm like, oh yeah, they're a teaching pro here, or they're coaching a college golf team, or they're still competing as an AM, and like the young man Nathan Hahn, like, he's still playing golf every day, playing better now than he did when he was in high school. And so I totally, I don't talk to a lot of them anymore, but I even keep track of the guys that I played high school golf with down there. I mean, I was fortunate enough to go to school with some seriously talented players. I mean, PJ Tour winners, guys like Sean O'Hare was there when I was there and was I considered a friend at the time. And, another gentleman, are you familiar with the Perfect Putter? Is that a training aid you guys are familiar with?
I hadn't seen it.
Probably seen the guys on tour use it. It looks like a big metal ramp. The ball rolls down the ramp and it helps you identify a break, right? So the guy that designed that was my high school teammate. A guy named Ramon Biscanza. He's from Spain, played at Florida, had Corn Ferry Tour experience. And, out of the blue, I saw him I've seen him at a few Corn Ferry events working with students and we talk, but it's like, same thing. It's like, hey man, good to see you. How you think? We're still talking about high school, not reliving the past too much, but that's the thing about golf though. I mean, there's a common bond amongst all of us, regardless of your background, anything like that, your belief system, doesn't really matter. It's golf and then everything else, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm cool with that. I know my place.
When you're competing now, being a club junkie, what's in your bag?
So here's the irony of the whole thing, right? I'm a club junkie, but I don't think of myself as like a club junkie. Like I need to try stuff all the time. My knowledge isn't encyclopedic, but I remember like products and I associate them with times in my life. So like I had a guy in yesterday. He's like, I got this set of golf clubs, 23 years ago. And I'm like, well, you got them 22 years ago. It came out in January of 2002. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I remember when these came out. And he's just like, how do you? I'm like, I don't know. Like, so the equipment side of stuff, man, as a club fitter, I'm a little bit antithetical to a lot of the, be it like the common belief, like the equipment changes everything. No, it doesn't. It does not. A craftsman isn't someone who has good tools. A craftsman is someone who knows how to use the tools he has. And for me, like if you go through my bag, I'm not a big changer. I just changed. I was on Callaway staff for about 4 years. Prior to that, I was on staff with Mizuno and a little bit of time with Ping. As you can see now, I'm back with Ping. But I'm not brand loyal. I say in the concept of club fitting, I'm very brand agnostic. I don't really care. All I care is what works for you. And I'll be more than happy to tell you don't need something new. If what you've got is good enough for what you're capable of, I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to try to sell you a $900 driver because I make some money off it. That's bad.
Friend Mitch.
Oh, I know. Hey, I like I said, I get it. It's if that's your business, right? If that's the primary component of your business model, it is what it is, right? But a lot of that stems, in my opinion, from the days when manufacturers were highly limited in terms of the ability to customize equipment. When I was a kid growing up, a manufacturer released 2 sets of irons for 8 years. Now a manufacturer releases 8 different models every 2 years. And like, take for example, Mizuno. Like, Mizuno offers every shaft option out there, save for some of the truly exotic stuff like LA Golf. They have charged for steel fiber. But if I can't find a shaft made by KBS, True Temper, Nippon, a couple other brands, and because they all sell 10 or 12 different, if I can't find a shaft that's going to work for you that doesn't cost you an extra $50 a club, I'm not doing my job, in my opinion. Because I have to be an advocate for the golfer, right? I just see too many people get burned. Oh man, I went to this place and I spent $6,000 on a set of golf clubs, and I got a $1,200 driver, and I'm like, and what happened? I go, I've got my old driver back in the bag, and I'm like, yeah, because in that small window of assessment, I can make the numbers be whatever I want them to be. That's the easiest thing in the world. I change a few settings on my radar, and you're hitting the ball 20 yards further because I tell it you're at 8,000 feet. And by no means am I saying I've never seen a club fitter do that, by the way, to be clear. Like, I have seen it in a PGA Tour Superstore. Actually, it was a Martin's Golf, but PGA Tour Superstore before it got branded as Superstore in Myrtle Beach, where I went in to test a driver. This is back in the Nike driver days. I tested a SQ2, the round version of the Sumo, square, ugly, loud sounding thing, and I'm hitting balls on a vector launch monitor. I'm like, it says it's going like 330, and I'm like, no. Like, this is long before CT numbers and smash factor numbers and ball speed numbers were anywhere compared to what they are today. And having a little bit of knowledge, I jumped in the computer and got in there. I'm like, oh yeah, it's set for 8,500 feet. I'm at sea level. Like, the ball doesn't go that far. So, as far as like, that kind of stuff, I really believe. Now, again, there's always the unique scenarios, right? Like, a good example, like if you look at my bag, like we started talking about this, right? Like, I know what I want to play. I'm, obviously being back on staff with Ping, I'm playing the G430LS, 9-degree head, love it. Shaft wise, I started out with the Project X RDX Green Smoke. Didn't love it. It was supposed to be the replacement for the Hazardous Smoke PVD Hulk model, the one that's kind of like the rainbow colored shaft. It looks like it changes colors. And it was supposed to be replaced for that. Didn't love it, so I went ahead and just got the shaft I want. So I've got that in the driver. Love that. My 3-wood's still a Callaway. I'm still in the Paradigm Triple Diamond. Same shaft in the driver and the 3-wood. Love that golf club. It's absolute beast. Irons-wise, one of the more recent changes, I switched over to the iCrossover driving iron from Ping. Honestly, that thing should be illegal. I don't have the club head speed I used to hit, and I hit it like 250. It's bonkers. It's a great little stick. Love it. Hit it dead straight. Don't struggle with it very much. Irons-wise, 4-iron is the new Blueprint S, the cavity back version, and the remainder of the irons are the new Blueprint T. I'm a blade guy. I've been playing blades since like 93. You're gonna have to pry them out of my cold dead hands. Wedges, I'm still hitting my old Callaway Jaws Raws. All the shafts in my irons, every single one of them is KBS money taper. I've been using the taper series, C taper, money taper for about 10 or 12 years. I'm a relatively moderate high tempo guy. I've slowed down a little bit. A lot of angle of attack. I'm a digger. I dig a big hole, so I need a really stable shaft. I've always hit the irons a long way. Don't anymore, but play those. And then the funniest thing is the putter. I've been a over standard length putter, and to be honest, I'm not a putter guy. Like, the guy that works right over there,
he rotates through them weekly.
He's going to listen to this, and he's not going to care I say it, but he's a cult leader. Watch out for him. I know you guys have talked to the guys at Lab, but everywhere we go, man, it's Lab this, Lab that. And great product. It's really cool. But the funny thing is, before he really fully jumped off the deep end in the Lab world, he's been a putter junkie forever. And one of my young men that I teach, he needed a putter. And was like, he was using my old Ping Sonita B counterbalanced putter. And the putter I had Odyssey build for me was the Tuttle, and I basically spec'd it out to be almost an identical match in terms of weight, length, counterbalance weighting, all that stuff to what I was using with that Ping putter. And that Ping putter he had been using for like 3 years, and it was brutalized. The head was loose, the grip was destroyed. And I said, here, just take this. I'm like, I'm not playing much. Take this. Take my old putter. And by the way, he's playing a Lab now. But so Scott's like, I was like, I'm just gonna borrow a putter to play golf with, right? And he had a Toulon Answer 2 knockoff, and I went out and played with it. I made everything I looked at, and I haven't used an Answer style putter. I think the last one I had was a what do you call it? A Cameron. Brain farting. The Beryllium insert with the buttons on the back. Not the buttons, but the dots. The original Trillium. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. The original, this tells you how old I am. The original Trillium. I got it when it came out. I hadn't putted with one of those since then. And so I was putting with that Toulon. I'm like, man, this thing's awesome. It has a stability shaft in it, which, whatever. But I made everything I looked at. And then Scott being the guy he is and the haggler on the internet he is, he was trading something. He goes, hey, this guy threw in this Answer 2 PLD head. And I was like, perfect. So I took that and I threw about 200 grams of lead tape on the bottom of it. And I've been putting with that ever since. And it's kind of weird going back to that. But the real thing for me was that Ping PB58 cord grip, which I don't use cord grips except for on the putter. And that grip just so beautifully falls into the base of my left thumb. And I was just like, oh man, and I joke as a kid, I stunk with that putter because I thought I was a bad putter, but I really didn't know how to read greens. And I'm an aim point enthusiast, if you will. And when I learned aim point, I realized, oh no, I'm a decent putter. I just aggressively sucked at reading greens. Yeah. And now I'm like, I know how to read a green now, and the putter works. And so that's kind of the makeup of my bag. I don't change much. To be honest, that Ping Eye crossover 3-iron, that replaced an Adams fairway wood in my bag that I've used since 2013. So it tells you I don't change a lot. Now, he changes.
Got to get the latest and greatest.
And one of those little things I've always thought about, I will eventually do it, is I'm going to build and put together a set. I love building golf clubs. I love tinkering with that stuff. I'm good enough to do work with it, but I'm not, I'm not at a high-end level on that stuff. But I'm going to build. I've still got a bunch of old Mizuno MP14s at home that I've had since '96. A couple of them are still in. I have like 4 sets, I think. A couple of them are in decent shape, and I'm going to rebuild a set of those. I've got a Titleist PT driver that Wade picked up in Savannah couple years ago that it's literally this big, and it's funny. So that driver reminds me of you guys were talking about with Scott a couple months back about the ball rollback stuff, and and I took that driver was with us at a Korn Ferry event in Destin, Florida, and a guy by the name of Tom Whitney, I think he's on the PGA Tour right now, was on the range with us, and he saw that thing. He's like, God, that thing's, that thing's tiny. I bet the ball doesn't go anywhere. And I said, I guarantee it goes over 280. And he's like, no chance. And so he sets up there, and I said, give it an honest effort. And we had launch monitor there, and he hits the first one. It was 281. He goes, whoa. And I go, Bubba, it's the golf ball. That Pro V1 is an absolute rocket, compared to what I used with a Bellata back in the day. And the golf balls I grew up playing were, they should have been in a bag labeled with a orange, white, and blue stripe, sold as marshmallows in the grocery store. Those things were absolutely the softest things you've ever felt in your life. But yeah, I'm not a big changer of the equipment stuff. But that being said, and I'm still engaged in it. But I also really love the history of all that stuff. I've gone out and played with old wooden shafted clubs, and I know what a mashie is. I know what a niblick is, and that stuff's cool, man. Like, if you ever get a chance to go out and play with that stuff, it's maddening, but it's fun to play with.
You have anything else?
What kind of handicap are you carrying right now?
So I actually carry one. I haven't for years, but I carry one because of our member games and stuff like that. If you look me up on GHN, I think I'm like a plus 0.2. Do I play to it all the time these days? No. It directly relates to the amount of ibuprofen I've put in my body. Yeah, I mean, the days of me, shooting under par for a week or putting up a bunch of good scores now. But I mean, I'm a decent stick. I mean, I still hit it pretty well. I still control my ball well. I don't hit the ball out of play very much. Still got a little gas pedal. I can still get it up there, 114, 115, and sneak one down there in that 320 range every now and then. But I just don't play as much. And though I will say, since I've been here, I mean, I play a lot more since I've worked over here than I really did the last 5 or 6 years I was at Cannygate. But I play some. Actually, it was funny. This afternoon, AJ Salerno was like, "We should go play him." he wants a rematch, but he wants to bring me along, I think.
That's what I was going to say. We need to play you with either Scott or AJ and kind of do a rotating match like we did with Scott and Maddox.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the more fun ones with the different tee boxes.
Y'all need to come here and play again.
Yes.
Because this place, the conditions wise is so good right now. Green complexes are really healthy. The golf ball's starting to do what it's supposed to do. Kudos again to the membership, man. They're doing something to make it better every year. And we did a decent bit of green renovation last year. We actually resodded some areas. Zach, I don't know. Have you been out here since that was done?
I mean, I've been out. I haven't got to play. I think one of my next lessons with Scott, I want to do like 9 holes. Kind of see like where I'm at.
And
just hitting in the bay.
Course conditions are really good. So, good time of year to do it too. The boys just finished school, so they're here every day, all day, driving me nuts.
Fun time.
We're ready. We just need to set it up.
Yep. I'll say this, let me know. I need warning. Like I told you guys, I'm in and out of town a lot. I'm in North Carolina on Sunday and Monday next week. Then I drive back. I get right back in the car, go to Birmingham to caddy for Will Kaufman at the U.S. Junior qualifier at Country Club of Birmingham, and then I'll be at the U.S. Open this year. Currently as a spectator, hopefully inside the ropes.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, Wade's in sectional qualifying, and it would kind of be apropos for his career to the year he's off to where he makes the U.S. Open. But so hopefully that would be kind of cool to get I've been to majors, like I've been to stuff like that. I've been to a handful of Ryder Cups. Like I was at Valhalla in 2008 on Sunday when the American team finally beat the Euros for the first time in what felt like 100 years. But it'd be cool to be on the other side of that, like out on Pinehurst, walking the golf course. Working with a guy and obviously one of my best friends, but we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll set it up.
But any other time, like I said, you give me notice and give me some forewarning so I can do all the requisite stretching and mobility stuff. And inhale an ungodly amount of ibuprofen, and we'll get after it.
I'll swing by Costco. I'll cover the ibuprofen.
Hey, I need topical ibuprofen these days. Stuff they don't even sell in the U.S. anymore. It's like a gel that you have to put on your body. It's like my parents, all they do is travel anymore since they retired, and every time they go overseas or something, I'm like, hey, bring me some back. Bring me some of that ibuprofen gel. I need to be able to function for the next 6 months. But yeah, we'll get after it. Either wherever you want to do it, whomever you want to go. I'm always
we're undefeated at Newnan, so
them's fighting words.
We like it.
What I might call in a different favor then. I'll catch Wade when he's in town, and we'll make it a little less of a fair fight. No, I mean AJ plays here every day, so he's a pretty good teammate to have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's carrying. I follow him on Gen. He's plus 2.5 now.
Yeah, he did pretty good at state. Finished 4th in 6A. His name's. I don't know if you noticed it because you were here like week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Did you didn't happen to go on my side to see our wall of champions?
No, I hadn't seen your side. Usually I come in, I go straight to work.
Can I reverse the camera on this? I don't know if I can. Do this real quick. So if you look over there, those pictures on the wall, that's what we call the wall of champions. So if you're a 1919 Academy student, myself or Scott, and you play and win a ranked tournament, multi-day tournament, amateur tournament, etc., we'll put your picture up on the wall. So AJ's got his picture up there a couple times from Kirby. I think it's 3 now. He's got Kirby, and he's won 2 other Southeastern junior events. And I've got a few more to add, and I'm really looking forward to putting the whole teams up there for Northgate High School for their state championship. So, he's up on that wall a couple times, but we're hoping he gets up on that wall a whole bunch more.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, guys.
Work on scheduling something soon.
Yeah, let's. Like I said, anytime you guys are always welcome out here. Come see us. I know you guys are hooked up with some guys over in Auburn with equipment and stuff, but if you need anything, let us know. Like I said, we're always here. If you need a second bit of advice or questions about stuff, and Scott or myself are always more than happy to help out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, bring all those boys over here. We'll have some fun. We'll get out here on a Monday and tear this place apart.
Well, the loser buys hot dogs.
So Scott's like, all he can talk about is them dang hot dogs. Here's the deal. I'll talk to Lance, our chef. Absolute, genuine human being. Awesome dude. Y'all win, I'll figure out how to get you a whole package of them hot dogs. A whole package. I don't know how many a package is. 600? I'll get you some hot dogs. Man, that'll be the easiest payoff I've ever had gambling and golf in my life. I'm not peeling off hundreds, I'm peeling off wieners.